Welcome to Beyond Business as Usual. This is an interview series that we do with business owners, and we're always interested to find out about their journey, their successful action, what they went through, and their various challenges. So today I have the pleasure to meet Marc Carter, who's the president of CBC. So Marc, welcome to the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here today.
It's my pleasure, Philip, to be involved, and thank you for meeting me and accepting my friendship at the conference and get us to where we are today.
Fantastic. This is great. Okay, so let's get right into it, Marc. Now, you've got CBC is and it started what in 1943, 42, 1942. Uh,
Correct.
well, right in the middle of World War II, it started. Okay, that's interesting. Anyways, and now, but you started, when did you acquire that company?
Partner and I acquired three agencies in 2003, all small agencies that were within 15 or 20 minutes of each other. And they were all owned by a single individual who had passed away. And we were fortunate to have a uh, mentor that had a buy sell agreement to purchase those agencies. And as luck would have it, and I've been in this business for 45 years now.
Mhm.
So, but as luck would have it, myself and a couple other partners owned the Experian Credit Bureau in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we had the East Tennessee market. And we sold that in June of 2002. And in August of 2002, the owner of those other three agencies passed away. So it was just a matter of timing. I had spent years building the credit bureau up while I kept my finger in the pulse of the collection world. And as luck would have it, then we exercised that right and purchased those through three agencies by the end of the year and started CBC. We had to land on a name, and one of those companies was Credit Bureau Collections because the previous owner also, like us, owned a credit bureau.
Mm.
Then our attorney said, well, you can't use the name credit bureau because you're not a credit bureau anymore. So we shortened it to CBC.
BC. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And so we had those three agencies. And then the following year, we purchased another agency owned by what used to be Mountain States Health Alliance, the large health system up in the upper East Tennessee. And then the following year, we purchased another small agency. It was again part of that deceased owner hierarchy situation. So that was five total. And then a couple of years ago, we purchased an agency in Alexandria, Virginia. And then last year, we closed on an agency in Mansfield, Ohio.
So you're still acquiring them. You're still
Yeah,
like moving
yeah,
forward, and that
correct.
seems to be a successful action for you. This is great.
Well, so far,
Well, again, this is different from some of the people the entrepreneurs I invite on the Beyond Business as Usual podcast, in that you acquired already running companies. I mean, these are going concern, right? So and
right.
you buy them and you bring it into your fold, and then now there's something about a certain company that makes it what it is, right? I mean, the company has its own set of policies, its own staff, and they work in a certain way, right? Now you're going to bring them into CBC, right? Now, how do you manage the transition from their company, their policies, their culture into your own? How does Because some people, it's like a transition doesn't work so good, and some people it would work okay. So I'm interested to know how do you go about doing this, Marc?
It's interesting you'd ask that because we experienced a learning opportunity, let's call it, with the purchase of the Virginia agency because it's right on the edge of Washington, D.C.
Hmm.
Okay. And the culture, the mix of the employee base, everything was totally opposite of what we experienced down here in East Tennessee.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can see that.
And, you know, it was okay. We just, listened to everybody, what they liked and what they wanted to do and how they wanted to do it. Now, the biggest challenge was getting them to accept how we operated versus how it was before. And
Right.
that has nothing to do with the culture or anything involving the employee base, other than, which is the worst thing that anybody ever said, well, that's how we've always done it. Well, that may be, but now we're going to try it this way. And through that, uh, we managed to retain two employees out of the 8 or 10 that we acquired, and the rest of them could not adapt to the way we did it because they were set in their way. They've been doing it that way for 20 years and they didn't want to change.
It's hard for
So,
some people to accept change, isn't it?
right, right. And typically we would have expected a to experience this in the very first uh, purchases, the first 3 to 5, people having issues with the platform and learning the collection platform we use and such and such. That wasn't the case here because the two agencies in Ohio and Virginia we purchased were on the same platform. So it was a seamless transition as far as training goes. It's more of just a culture and such. So that's been a good, I guess, learning curve for us. Um, but it's nothing that can't be easily overcome with just being factual and honest and transparent with people. And that's true across the board, regardless of where you're at.
I like that. True, honest, and transparent. These are great core values. I mean, if you're transparent, say, look, this is the way it is. We're going to bring you in.
Mm-hmm.
These are our processes. This is how we do things,
Right.
right? I know, it's like, okay, so you're I don't know if you have this in we've got the Dunkin' Donuts or what have you, and then now you're gonna come into a Starbucks, right?
Yeah.
Well, they do things a little different, right? So they
Yeah.
both sell coffee and various other things, but it's completely different. And the person that goes from Dunkin' Donuts to Starbucks or from Starbucks needs to understand that they're not in the same company anymore. They will have to adapt, right? I think if you have good processes and good manuals and a good training to onboard those new staff, the transition will be a little bit easier. Or at least, correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but at least you'll be able to see real quick who can do the change and
Yeah.
who
Who can adapt?
who
Right.
can adapt and who won't. And it's
Right.
okay. Look, again, I don't know about you, but somebody who feel he can't make it, at this point, you're just gonna cut ties. It's not because you don't like them. It's just
Right.
because, look, if you
It's
don't
just,
like them, then you don't like it. That's okay. And there's a respect
unfortunately,
there.
it's just not a good fit. And we present it to them in a manner that it's an opportunity for them to expand their skill sets by having worn both hats, let's say,
Mhm.
and operating under two different cultures, so that in the event that down the road we part ways for whatever reason, now they have an extra set of skill set that they can take out to the marketplace.
I love it. I love
And
it.
everybody that we bring in that situation, they know what we tell them is it's an opportunity to grow. You may be a collector now, but 2 or 3 years from now, you may be a supervisor because we need somebody to manage collectors. So there's always opportunities.
Oh, that's great. That's great. And you have a pretty good retention rate from what I gathered. I mean, we talked a little bit earlier about this. The staff that go with you stay with you, don't they?
We knock on wood, we are blessed with less than 1% turnover rate.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and our average tenure for the collectors is around 8 years now, and average tenure in the administration staff is over 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. This is kudos to you and your leadership team.
yeah.
I mean, again, people don't stick around when the leadership is not good.
Yeah.
And it's a good reflection on what you've built, the culture, and as I like the way you say it, right? I mean, we'll promote you, right? If you stay with us and you do the work, and we can see what you're doing, we will
Yeah.
bring you up. Now, Mike, I got another question for you. Here's my next question to you, Mark. What do you look at when you promote somebody?
We look at their commitment to the culture that we have in place. And our culture is obviously, you know, we collect money for healthcare systems and we hundreds of clients all across the country. But we want every client to feel like they're our only client.
Mm,
So we don't want a client to onboard and then there's a question. I'm not saying an issue, but just a question about something, and they call us and they can't get us and leave a voicemail. And we don't get back to them for 3 or 4 days. That's not going to happen. So we gauge response rates with our support team, with our clients, and typically it's less than 24 hours for every
wow.
response is provided. Is it the end? Is it the answer? Maybe not, but it's a starting point to get to the answer. So at least it's getting the attention that it needs. So we look at that, how they, do we get any complaints from anybody on that person, which again, very, very rare. And we obviously look at their attendance, make sure they're working when they're supposed to,
Yeah.
and flexibility because we're in a constant flux to some degree in this. The industry itself predicates that. It's nothing that we choose to do. It's just
It
the
is.
nature of the business,
It
and so
is.
you got to be a little flexible. And those are the key factors to us right there. But mainly, it's the culture that they're providing and service level to our clients.
Yeah, because that if you bring them to a leadership, then that will sift down to the people they're working with under them,
Right, right.
right? Because they're gonna
So
push that down,
on,
right?
you're right. And on the collector side, it's all performance and complaints or lack thereof. Now, as an example, we had less than, because we do track complaints, obviously.
Oh, you have to.
And, everybody uses the CFPB nowadays. All the debtors that we contact have access to the CFPB, and there's a, national complaint database anybody can access. So last year, out of the millions and millions of customer debtor type contacts, we had a 0.00009 complaint rate.
Whoa,
Yeah. So,
that's pretty good.
but a lot of it has to do with, again, the culture that we put in place and our constant oversight of the collectors. I mean, we talk to them every week about random calls that we've listened to see if they're making
That you
mistakes,
see, right?
following protocol, and keeping us regulatorily compliant, as well as we use a process that every week they have to take a test. It's got 10 to 15 questions on it dealing with FDCPA, TCPA, all the buzzwords in our industry that we have to follow regulatorily,
Hmm.
and they have to pass that test.
So you keep them on their
Uh,
toes.
yeah, right. And that way it protects us as a company regulatorily because they're not breaking a HIPAA violation or something of that nature.
Right.
So and we learn more just from the supervisor talking to the collector about what they're experiencing, and it gives us opportunity too to say, okay, you're working, you work this many accounts for this client. What were you hearing? Was there complaints about the client or insurance, or so identify opportunities to either one, train our collectors better, or two, take that information back to our collectors and say, hey, we're hearing this a lot. Let's take a look at your denials and that process and see if there's some way we can help you improve before the account gets to us. So,
That's amazing. So you got a very solid quality control factor in there that keeps you at a high level, and you get the results. I mean, look at that. a very, very strong retention rate for your staff, very small complaint rates from your clients. You really
Yeah,
take care of. There's a big care factor. And what I'm hearing right now from CBC, it's a big care factor for both your team member and for the clients as well, in terms of rapidly dealing with them and making sure that whatever their needs they have is covered. Uh, that's
yeah.
that's great. Okay, so now I can't do the question for you.
It's,
Um, okay, so you tell me like they seem to be monitored quite, they do the questionnaire, people talk to them and stuff. Now, some people would say you're micromanaging them, right? I see this a little different. I don't think this is micromanagement. This is not, you don't tell them what to do. You're just there and you're really aware of their needs so you can make them be better in terms of staff members.
right, right. Yeah, their personal success is based on their productivity, and we are helping them to be more productive through that monitoring and such. It's
It's not
uh,
micromanagement.
nope,
It-
yeah. No
but
one, no one, knock on wood again, has ever complained about the possibility of us micromanaging
yes,
them.
it's not. But I mean, I've heard that. Look, I'm a business consultant. I've seen that in places in terms of you get a staff member that goes, "Oh, you're micromanaging me," right? And then you go like, "Look, I'm just trying to find out what you're doing so I can help you do your job better. I'm not micromanaging you, right?" It seems like they're responsible for their post, and you let them perform, and then you're there when they need you.
Yeah,
And
we give them all the tools and all the support to be successful. And it's up to them to listen to us. And if it's a good fit, then they're going to be highly successful and they're going to be in that top, 10, 15% of the collector base
right,
every month and they're going to make a good living. Yeah.
yeah, no, that's great. That's fantastic. Okay, so going back in time,
Hmm.
before, were you always an entrepreneur? Did you always have a business, or at one point you decided to go, okay, I'm done working for somebody. I'm starting my own business. How did that work for you, Mark?
Well, interesting enough, I was working at a bank, had worked my way up from the bookkeeping to the teller line to the loan department and was calling past dues. And my boss asked me to attend a meeting with he and some business partners. And they wanted me to move to Cleveland, Ohio and run a Western sizzling steakhouse franchise. I'm like 21 years old. Dude, I don't know anything about the restaurant business. I don't want to live in Cleveland, Ohio. Right.
Right.
But as luck would have it, one of those fellows in that group owned a collection agency.
Huh?
And so he offered me an opportunity to come work for him. And so then we, I was a collector and then I got into the sales side and worked my way up through and we bought and sold businesses, collection aid, apartment complexes and this and that and the credit bureau and all these things. And so I got into the ownership side again through that buy sell agreement in 2002. And it was just a blessing that was in place and took it over. And this fellow is still in business, the original mentor, but we're twice as big now. Me and my partner have taken it and grown it to where we're twice as big. And it's, yeah, it's been a real journey.
Well, it seems like it is. And what do you think, from your own point of view, when you look back? Okay, look,
Mm-hmm.
it's 20 to 20, it's been 22 years since you've been an entrepreneur and actually, doing this. And there's a highs and there's lows. It's like it is the journey, right? If you go back in time, you and I, we get into a time machine. We go back in time and we go back to your younger self in 2002. What advice would you give yourself?
Pay more attention listen more and talk less.
Nice. I
Yes,
like that. I like that a
because
lot.
you think about opportunities that were there, you recognize them now, but you didn't at the time, and now they're not an
Mm,
opportunity. Those kind of things. And don't be afraid to get outside your comfort zone and really try to learn a different perspective on the business, because there's a lot of people out there, and I'm guilty of it myself, willing to share with the on how the business operates with someone who's an entrepreneur and trying to learn. Be glad to talk about it. And I don't feel like I utilized that and leveraged that enough at that point to expand. I had a great mentor. He knew the business and he's been
seems
very
like it.
successful at it. But there's other perspectives too.
Mm.
So I wish I'd, yeah, capitalized on that. Yeah.
Excellent. These are great tips, great advice. Thank you very much, Mark. At this point, we're pretty much at the end of look, I think I could talk to you for another hour, hour and a half. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
You've done something great. Out of, CBC, it's a collection. You deal with accounts and all of this. It's a little bit of a dry subject.
Well,
However, you make it alive by the way you talk, and that's very interesting. I like to see. I like to be able to wear to see that viewpoint of view. That makes me
dry.
happy.
Yeah. Yeah. The product is dry, but we're in a position to help businesses achieve their financial goals on a topic that's not one of their favorite topics, because they don't, you know, if they had it their way, there wouldn't be a need for our services. And I get that, but there is a need. And so we try to make it as seamless and painless as possible to do business with. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. You've built something great, and I can see your employees are very grateful for what you've built, and you making an impact.
Yeah.
And well done, very well done. That
Yeah.
warms my heart to talk to somebody like this. Okay, good. Well, at this point, we're gonna sign off on the Beyond Business as usual interview series for this podcast. I want to thank you again for taking the time, Mark. It was a pleasure discussing with you today.
Thank you. Thank you, Philip, for the opportunity. Yes.
You're very welcome. And for the rest, we'll see you next time on the next
Yeah.
episode. Bye
Bye.
for now.
Bye.